West Ham have left themselves in a right mess. I mean, an absolute right mess with the injury that's happened to Niclas Füllkrug. Now, there were a lot of people who were saying our transfer business shouldn't be done yet. We need... A lot of people said at least 2 players. One of them a central defender. I know we went and got Igor, but I tried to make this point throughout the transfer window. It's not just signing players, it's signing players who play first-team football. Igor's not that. Igor is cover for if Kilman gets injured or something like that, right? That's what he's there for. Left-footed, reserve central defender. So I felt we still needed 2 players. We needed somebody that was going to stick his elbows out and say, right, get out of my way, I'm the striker for the club. And I thought we needed a robust defender as well. Anyway, we didn't do any of that. We got the whole, we tried stuff. And I thought we might... Not so much the central defence, it has to be said. I think Magassa can play there. In fact, he's played more of his career in central defence than in midfield. There's stuff that you can do, right? I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka can play in central defence. The striker is very, very different. And I do think that Graham Potter's strategy for dealing with that is to take Jarrod Bowen and just put him and play him as striker. Now, I don't think it's any coincidence. I don't think it's this simplified, but I don't think it's any coincidence that West Ham's first win of the season came when Bowen was playing in his natural position. I think there are other things that helped. I think the 4 at the back certainly helped. I think having 2 players on the pitch who could pick a pass in Fernandes and Lucas Paqueta, I think that helped massively. There were a number of things, the width, all the stuff. But Jarrod Bowen being over there, I do think was pretty crucial, really. And because of that, I want him to stay there. But it's certainly been my fear that should anything happen to Niclas Füllkrug or Callum Wilson, 2 injury-prone strikers, let's be fair, then the answer to that, an emergency break glass solution is, do you know what, we'll take Jarrod and we'll put him up top. And then what's going to happen is, because realistically, I just can't see any situation where I can't see Potter starting a game with Somerville on the left flank and Guilherme on the right flank. I'd be happy to be proven wrong, but it doesn't seem like something he would do. So what do I think he does? I think he reverts back. I think we get 3 centre-backs again, which I don't think is particularly good for us. Anyway, I wouldn't have ordinarily paid any attention to the fact that tonight West Germany are playing Northern Ireland. Aside from the fact, I'd be thinking, I hope Füllkrug doesn't get injured. Now, Füllkrug's an interesting one because, well, just in case your head's been stuck in the sand, and to be fair, I've not uploaded for a couple of days. I actually took a couple of days off, so got away from West Ham, and that's really been the biggest story. As long as you would concede that there's no truth in Frank Lampard coming to West Ham as our next manager, the big story is Niclas Füllkrug getting injured. But I think a lot of the focus have been taken off Füllkrug just purely because when we signed Wilson, the story became, oh my goodness, we've signed an old injury-prone striker. And almost there was so much focus on him. I think, well, I can only speak for myself. You sort of forget that actually the other guy we've got is also an old injury-prone striker. Now, I don't know what the statistics are for Füllkrug, but I suspect, so he's been at West Ham, 13 months? I suspect in terms of game time, in terms of availability, he's been injured more than he's been fit. And no, I'm not counting the bit during summer when we're on doing pre-season and all that type of stuff. I mean, actually, last season, however many games we might have had, 40, 41 games or whatever, I would imagine that for the vast majority he was not available for. So it really should come as no surprise that Niclas Füllkrug would get injured. He suffered 2 big injuries last season after he joined. I don't know whether this is a big or a small injury, but it was enough for him to get sent back from international duty, and he got injured training with Germany. Rewind to last season, one of his injuries, well, he got injured training with Germany. The other injury was picked up in Graham Potter's first game, wasn't it? For 13 minutes into Graham Potter's first game, which was an FA Cup tie against Aston Villa. So, realistically, there should be no surprise that Niclas Füllkrug gets injured. In fact, the stats would suggest he is going to get injured. I just think, there's been so much focus on Wilson, it's sort of stopped being a narrative, really. But, yeah, look, we find ourselves there. And as I say, most people would probably start Wilson in the next game. But now we're in a right old pickle. So now I'm looking at this Germany versus Northern Ireland game very, very differently. Like before, I'd be looking at it thinking, oh, well, there's a striker, I hope doesn't get injured. Well, there still is, and his name's Callum Marshall. And whilst I think it was absolutely crazy not to buy a striker or even loan a striker just to cover yourself, would have been nice. Would have been nice to get somebody that is first team, the best striker in the club, and you go and buy that. But even if not, the worst case scenario is to do what you did with Igor, which is go and get a little bit of cover. I didn't expect it to happen this quickly. I really didn't. I thought we might regret the fact that we haven't bought a striker or loaned a striker, but not this quickly, no. I mean, it's been pretty much instantaneous, isn't it? The transfer window closed 6 days ago, and it's already happened. It would have happened 4 days after the transfer window closed. So Callum Marshall becomes really, really important. So whilst it was a stupid move not to buy or loan a striker, actually to not loan out Callum Marshall looks pretty wise now. Now, I always find these situations really crucial for players. And I remember it when we had the centre-back Elise. There was a point where we had Elise, we were still playing in Europe. Everyone was injured, even Issa Diop. Every centre-back was injured. They had to patch Issa Diop up. But even with Diop there, everyone, Zuma was injured, Gerd was injured, Ogbonna was injured, everyone's injured, right? And I think, okay, this is it. So Issa Diop, they patched him up, he had to play with painkiller injections, but they still needed one other centre-back there. He didn't choose Elise. Now, it doesn't matter whether you think he was right or wrong not to choose Elise, and Elise went to Sunderland, and maybe, it would suggest that maybe it was the right thing to do. But I think, aside from that, the writing was on the wall for him as a centre-back, because he would have thought, actually, there are no set of circumstances where I'm going to play as a central defender in this club. Even with all the defenders injured, I still don't play. So the writing was on the wall for him there. I think this is not quite as crucial for Marshall, but he can look at it and say, right, okay, realistically, I should be coming off the bench for West Ham now. And I think it'd be a really good opportunity to give him a chance and to give him a go. Because Wilson looks good, right? Wilson looks really good. Wilson looks sharp, which I'll take sharp at the moment. But he's still an injury-prone player. So I think we'd be absolutely crazy to look at Wilson and think, well, we're going to play him for 90 minutes. That would be crazy, right? Start him, play him for an hour or whatever. Then you're going to have to do something different. And I think Marshall's time has come. You've got to give him a go. He played. Oh, who did Northern Ireland play the other day? Luxembourg. He came on as a substitute against Luxembourg. It's not his first cap for Northern Ireland. He is a Northern Ireland senior. He's a senior international now. He played a full season last season for Huddersfield. I think he got their player of the season. I think I got that right. Now's the time to see if he can make the step up. He's just become incredibly important now. Incredibly important. As I think if I hadn't had a couple of days off, the video you would have got here would have been a lot more furious. For I've had a couple of days to accept now that Füllkrug's injured. Although I don't know the extent of it, as I said. So I think now, with a couple of days, he's sort of not as angry. Whilst it's ridiculous and stupid that we didn't provide adequate cover. We just had a transfer window. There's no excuse, but there is a chance for someone, and hopefully he comes through tonight unscathed. I'm pretty sure he'll come off the bench against Germany, and wouldn't that be great if Callum Marshall got a goal tonight? Because I just think that launches him up there, and that gives him, it gives him adequate reason to think that he deserves a chance. And he looked sharp. He looked good in pre-season. So I hope we give him a go. I hope to see him on the bench. There's a lot of stuff we did wrong in the transfer window. There's stuff we did right. Fernandes being a really, really good case in point. He got an assist yesterday for Portugal under 21s against Azerbaijan. Jared Bowen. This is the other thing as well. The injury to Füllkrug. There was part of me wanted to see Jared Bowen against England yesterday, and that was crap. You know what they say? There's no easy games in international football. Well, that's nonsense, because that is one of them. I think Greece beat Belarus 5-0. Mavropanos didn't get injured, which is good. So there are easy games. You can thump people at international football. I'm far from convinced at Tuchel. That's a conversation for another day. But I did find myself looking at Bowen and thinking, well, I'd like to see him come on, because I think as Bowen got the tricks and the twists of Madueke, no, perhaps not, but Bowen's lethal. Bowen will get you assists and Bowen will get you goals. To be fair, I think Madueke probably should have had an assist. But I was pleased that he didn't come on. That's the truth of the matter, because he's so valuable. And yeah, I mean, it's a bit selfish. As my West Ham fan in me, doesn't want him to play. He's so important for West Ham now. But obviously for him, I do feel it's important, and I do worry a little bit for him, because I think when Saka gets back, he's probably not in the squad. And I'd like to see it. I also would like to see him get his chance, because I think he'd get a goal as well. It's just what he's good at. It's what he does. He's got the knack of finding the back of the net, isn't he? Anyway, there you go. Right, I'm gonna leave it for now. Whether we're gonna watch tentatively later. I'm not watching the game. I'm not gonna pretend I'm watching West Germany and Northern Ireland. I'm not gonna be doing that. But I will be scrolling. Do you know what I mean? I will be looking and I will be checking and watching from behind the back of the sofa, so to speak. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I'll catch up with you tomorrow.